Well, hello again and welcome to the nation's flagship political show, Politics Today. I'm Kayode Okikelu here in Lagos, and a happy Eid Maulud to our Muslim brothers and sisters. Well, the nation may be on a public holiday quite all right, but not politicians, not at all, especially those who are campaigning for the very top jobs in the country. It has become some sort of essential job for them. And they were out today at different locations under different nomenclatures for various events, but the goal as always remains the same: win your hearts and by extension your votes come 2023. So stay with us tonight as we bring you the major talking points of those events here and there. But first, well, let's tell you that President Muhammadu Buhari was in charge today for the investiture of Mohammed Idris Deby as transition president in the neighboring country. Now, today's ceremony, which held at the capital in N'Djamena, is expected to improve negotiations towards a peaceful return to democratic process, and that follows the death of his father, former President Idris Deby. Now, Chad borders Nigeria to the northeast, and of course, it impacts on the nation's fight against insurgency. I would also like to let you know that President Muhammadu Buhari has since returned to the country. Well, speaking of here in the country, the PDP, as People's Democratic Party, today officially flagged off its presidential campaign in the south-south state of Akwa Ibom. It was a packed venue at the Nest of Champions Stadium in Uyo, the state capital, as the party's presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, and his running mates, that's Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, made their first campaign pitch, as it were, to the electorate from the manifesto christened "My Covenant with Nigerians." Well, you'll get to listen to some of that soon, but let me give you a lineup of some of those present at the campaign, saying that there's been a major rift within the party over the chairmanship position, which may well threaten the party's chances. So at today's flag-off, the man in the eye of a storm, the party's national chairman, Senator Yorcha Ayi, was present, as well as 8 other governors. I'll give you just a lineup of those governors who were present at today's event. They are the vice presidential candidate of the party, that's Governor Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State. The host governor, of course, Emmanuel Odom. The Adamawa State Governor, Amadu Fintiri. His Bauchi State counterpart, Bala Mohammed, Governor Doye Diri of Bayelsa, and his Edo State counterpart, Governor Gaduna Basaki. The governor of Sokoto was also there, Governor Aminu Tambuwal, and the Taraba State Governor, Darius Ishaku. So those are the governors that were present at today's flag-off for the PDP. But today's campaign was short of 5 other governors. And true to his word, Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State, who had pulled out of the campaigns alongside his allies, were present. So here's a list of the governors that were not at today's event. That's the PDP's official flag-off. Aside Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State, Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State was also not there, as well as Governor Okeze Ekpazu of Abia State, Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi of Enugu, and Governor Samuel Otom of Benue State. So that's a list of the governors that were absent. We'll call them the G5, as they have been called. But that aside, let's let you listen in on some of the major talking points at today's official flag-off of the PDP's presidential campaign in Akwa Ibom State. Take a listen.
We are not going to waste time because of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We are not going to time.
Nigerians are getting more and more divided. Nigerians are complaining and are hoping that what we did for them in the first 16 years, we will come back and do it again. Let us all join hands together because we have the solutions. Already, we have penned down a covenant with Nigerians. We will restore the economy to its glory. Nigerians will be happy. All young people will get jobs. The unemployment worrying young people is what we want to address. The economy will grow. There will be more industries.
We believe that the PDP is the only party that is prepared to rescue this nation. But when you rescue the nation, you're also looking for those who have the experience to be able to restore and to rebuild. And one critical thing, if you want to rebuild this nation, you want a nation that is in unity. You want a nation where people can trust each other. This is what Atiku Abubakar offers to us as a people and as Nigerians.
When PDP came to power in 1999, we met Nigeria in a state of poverty, insecurity, hunger, lack of education. We lifted Nigeria from the bottom to the top. We became the biggest economy in Africa. We had peace, we had progress. And then Nigeria said they wanted change. They voted for change in 2015. What have we seen?
So let me officially welcome you to the political season. Now, this will be the reality for the next 136 days or thereabout. It's going to be a long ride, but as always, we'll help you get the best of it, get value. We'll make it worth it for you and help you make sense of all of the activities of the political actors. It's actually a very interesting situation playing out in the opposition PDP, and we'll be giving you the inside details later tonight. But before that, let's bring you other political stories making the rounds. Here's your political roundup.
The Chief of Staff to President Muhammadu Buhari, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, is asking Nigerian women to sustain the victory run of the All Progressives Congress through a massive mobilization of voters ahead of the 2023 general elections. Speaking in Abuja at the inauguration of the Tinubu-Shettima Women Presidential Campaign Team, Professor Gambari says the role of women in galvanizing votes ensured the victory of the APC in 2015 and 2019. He, however, warns the women to refrain from campaign of calumny by engaging in issue-based campaigns. With the flag off of the political campaigns across the country, the Social Democratic Party in Adamawa State is reiterating the need for the country to ensure politics of development as the nation prepares for the 2023 general election. The deputy governorship candidate of the SDP in Adamawa State, Mr. Yusuf Amos, stated this at a symposium organized by the party in Yola, the state capital. According to him, the SDP has the capacity to transform the state from its present condition to a technologically developed state with employment opportunities for youths.
All of those indicators of development, we want to expose it so that it can be a guide for us who are planning to come into government in 2023.
The youth wing of the All Progressives Congress in Niger State is promising to work for the success of the presidential candidate of the party, Bola Tinubu, and other candidates in the 2023 polls. This is the position of speakers at the inauguration of the state executive for the governorship team held in Mina. The newly inaugurated committee is led by Mr. Umar Arena, with members drawn from 25 local government councils across the state. Accord Party presidential candidate Professor Christopher Imumole is urging youth to vote for the party in the 2023 presidential election. Addressing supporters in Kano State, Imumole promised to unite the country, considering the huge division along ethnic and religious lines. He notes that education will be his major priority if elected as president.
I am the only candidate that have touched the life of Nigerians in every Nigerian.
A group of Imo State students has cautioned politicians in the state over what it tags campaign of calumny against former governor of Imo State, Emeka Ihedioha, over a purported speech made in Accra, Ghana. Addressing journalists in Owerri, the Imo State capital, the group accused desperate politicians in the state of sponsoring the smear campaign against the person of former governor Ihedioha, which they say is unwarranted and uncalled for. According to them, his view was misrepresented and twisted by mischief makers to blackmail him, even as he has demonstrated uncommon humility to apologize to whoever felt offended. And the Nigeria Police Force in Abia State has organized a political stakeholders forum to ensure peaceful campaign exercise in the state. Speaking at the event, Assistant Inspector General of Police Janet Agbede emphasized the need for a peaceful political process, considering the dangers of proliferation of small arms. She appeals to politicians to engage in issue-based campaigns and shun any act of violence.
It's better we follow the
Well, now that you're fully acquainted, let's begin the first leg of our conversation tonight. There's still dissatisfaction within the ruling APC, and this is not even about the Presidential Campaign Council list or the relationship between the presidential candidate and the party's national chairman. This is not about that. The vestiges from what is now popularly called Muslim ticket of the APC still lingers and may be snowballing into something more damaging. Now, a group known as the All Progressives Congress Northern Christian Leaders, led by former Speaker Yakubu Dogara and former SGF Babachir Lawal, has restated its position on the same faith ticket and warns of possible grave consequences, while promising to adopt what it describes as a political platform that is pan-national. Now, they resolved to, in their words, so take a listen, or let's read through what they said. According to them, they said to work together and jointly adopt a pan-Nigerian political platform that will engender unity, inclusiveness, and a sense of belonging among the Nigerian citizenry. Also said, conscious of multi-ethnic, multi-religious, and multicultural configuration of Nigeria, we believe that a same faith ticket and voting along religious lines may trigger dangerous dimensions of negative consequences among disparate people in ways that will hamper nation building. So what does this mean for the ruling party, which today, by the way, inaugurated its women campaign team? We saw the presidential candidate there, the wife of the president there, and other major players within the party. What does this mean for the APC? How can the APC convince Nigerians to queue behind it in the coming elections and other issues which have been raised? Well, our guest tonight is a veteran journalist turned politician. He is a co-director of Strategic Communications APC Presidential Campaign Council, also former Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC. Joining us live from our Abuja studio is Dr. Danladi Bako. It's good to have you on the program tonight, Dr. Bako.
Thank you, Coyote. How are you? How is Lagos? And how is work?
Well, Lagos, as always, is quite busy and the usual hustle and bustle, not like Abuja, maybe. And that's where our conversation will start from tonight, Dr. Bako. Because, again, this time, we're seeing that same faith ticket issue continuing to trail your party, just like a fire that refuses to be put out or that refuses to die. And there are worries that this might actually burn your party. Some would even say beyond recognition in the coming weeks and months. You are in the comms department, so you represent that block that essentially puts out, the views, the opinions of the party in such a way that Nigerians can be able to accept it. So regarding this same faith ticket that has surged up again, are you worried?
Coyote, I'm not by any means worried, and I have no reason to worry. I don't believe that there is a crisis of any sort. There are two ways to look at this. First of all, the main objective of a campaign is to win an election. Whatever you do, in whatever format you structure, whatever you're going to do, most importantly, at the end of the day, you must win an election. Now, the strategies of winning that election depends on who is planning it, who are the functionaries of the party, and all the variables that come into play all the time. In this case, the presidential candidate, His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu Jagaba, had the prerogative to choose a candidate of his choice. And having weighed all of the circumstances, having been part of MQ Abiola's campaign in 1991, I personally and physically saw him work on that team, on that project. And I know that with that experience, and the experience of 1999, and experience of today, I do not see the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress as somebody who would make a mistake. He must have made proper calculations. It's human to make mistakes, for God's sake.
Right.
But in this occasion, he has thought it deeply. He went through all of the processes and tried to ensure that the candidate he would pick would be one that can win. Asiwaju Tinubu will probably pick the whole of Southwest, wide margins. He would collect 2 states, 3 states from Northeast, courtesy of his vice president, a gentleman, fantastic banker, right, 2-time governor of Borno State, present senator, Kashim Shettima. He will pick 2 states from the Northeast, and instantly you know, the president is there to campaign for him in the Northwest.
Well,
By
Dr.
the time
Bako,
you take
it's
the
quite
votes
interesting.
In the Northwest and the Southwest,
Yeah.
you add two.
Pardon me, it's quite interesting
you're
you said
progress.
he will pick those states. I mean, from what we know about elections, it's the people that go out to vote for their candidates, not the candidates essentially picking this state. So perhaps that's just a usual speech from politicians sounding very sure, when indeed it's the people that will make the decision at the end of the day.
We communicators work on the people. And Kayode, I travel around this country a lot, from places like Atakumosa local government to places like Ikirun, to places like Arondizogu, to Mayobelwa and Madamawa. So I gauge the mood of the people when I speak, because I've done this over and over again. So I want to assure you that he wanted a candidate that can help him win. That's the first part. The second part of this discussion is that if there's any fear about a Muslim ticket, Kashim Shettima, the vice presidential candidate, spent 500 million naira to rebuild churches in Borno State after Boko Haram insurgency started. Right. This was in 2011, 12, 13, 14. He rebuilt churches with 500 million. He has sponsored more Christian pilgrims than any governor that I know in the northern part of the country.
Dr. Bako, to be fair,
the bishops know that.
You know, these issues have come up time and again. Just so we don't overflog the issues, I imagine that it will form a major part of the campaigning moving forward. I just wanted to point you to that statement, which the group put up. By the way, the group says it's met with even Muslim, party members and leaders across about 19 states and all, and they're concerned that they believe that this same fake ticket and voting along religious lines may trigger dangerous dimensions of negative consequences among disparate people in ways that will hamper nation building. So perhaps that's something to hold on the one hand and just hold on to it and perhaps use it in the coming days. But let's go to some other issues so we can make the most of our time as much as we have you on the program tonight. I couldn't help but wonder, looking at the list of your campaign council, which, by the way, you're on that list as a co-director, I realized that in terms of representation for women, and this is a major one, counting from 1 to 100, first 100 names, I saw only 3 women there. 1 to 100. Then I thought, you know what, let me go ahead. And then I counted from 100 to 200. I saw just 5 names, so just about 0.5% representation. And for a party that says it represents all people, same faith ticket on the one hand, now for women, why such low representation?
I want to show you that what happened today in Abuja was the launch of the women's wing of the campaign. I mean, eminently put together by the First Lady, Haja Aisha Buhari, and the wife of the presidential candidate and the vice presidential candidate. So that's a major block of the campaign. Indeed, if anything, they have started the campaign today. In fact, they've beat the council to it because they've already mobilized the women. And that is a very key element of voting, because, you know, women come to the polls a lot earlier than us men. We have a way of dragging our feet, but the women are there. The women and youth constitute a major and significant polling number. Today, they came out in Abuja, and they have set the board rolling ahead of us. The party chairman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, mentioned that the way the women have come out today has, in fact, indeed, taken over the whole system and the whole structure, because you have a clear idea what women can do when they are ready to do it. And then, so does that mean, this occasion, even without the council, the council is part of what they are supposed to do. There is a deputy director general in the council, Hadiza Bala Usman, as high as deputy director general. After the director general, there are 2 deputies director general. That was Adam Soshomole and Hadiza Bala Usman. That's a very big responsibility.
So does that mean that you have
a woman leader of the party?
Pardon me, Dr. Bako, does that mean then, now that you have inaugurated the women campaign team, so the general one is what, men campaign team, and then this one, women campaign team?
No. Of course, as you heard earlier, there are integrations of so many other. The list has been expanded, and it will be expanded. In the next few days, you'll find a full council Don't take the council you're using now as the yardstick, because efforts have been made to add more names. And those names, I assure you, will include women and youth. Of course, you know there's a directorate under Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State that takes care of youth and to a little extent women. Of course, there is a strong woman leader and the wife of the presidential candidate. And I'm sure it will take care of all of this we're talking about.
You know, I can't help but also remember this statement you made. It was in a radio interview. And you talked about women in governance. And in your words, you said women need to wake up. If they are waiting for people to hand over power to them, they will be making a mistake. And then you ended by saying 80% of the time, women are their own enemies.
True. And I think what has happened now is that there's a gradual awareness that they are beginning to wake up. The efforts of the First Lady today, the efforts of the APC to pick a young female medical doctor, former Commissioner of Health, as commissioner, as the woman leader of the party, has galvanized the youth amongst the women folk within the party. And I think they're going to see a lot more. And I do know that efforts have been made. Of course, you know, President Buhari increased the number of women in the cabinet of the present cabinet we have. We have close to about 8 to so many women. There are quite a few of them. And I think Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu will improve on that. They will make sure. And back just before we leave that topic, the issue of the Muslim ticket, remember that in the judiciary, I said that the Chief Justice of the Federation is Christian, the President of Court of Appeal is Christian, the President of Industrial Court is Christian. Somebody will balance out later, win the election, and I assure you that the incoming presidential candidate, the incoming president of the country, hopefully, will assure that everybody gets a space. The space within government is so huge. He will ensure that there is justice and a spread that makes sure that women are integrated, youth are integrated, Christians are integrated.
Right.
By the way, his wife is a senior Christian pastor.
Well,
so
Dr. Bako, I didn't quite get
these clubs.
Right. I didn't quite get the point, that last part where you said women are their own problems 80% of the time. What did you mean by that, quickly?
Yeah, in the past, the kind of internal wranglings. Kayode, I was hosting the NCWS on Morning Ride in 1988, and there was an election for NCWS. And right in the studio, I had the two contestants, one on one side, one on the other side. And on air, pre-election, the election was to take place in that afternoon, and on air, these two women accused themselves on air, live, on Morning Ride. This was 88, 89. And I, as a young boy, how old was I? I was 31. I was settling a quarrel between 56-year-old, 60-year-old women struggling to be president of Nigeria Council for Women Societies. I can go on the list of how these things happen, the kind of betrayals. But I think there's a new energy now. They all realize they need to work together, and think in the APC, they're working together a lot. They're working, and they're working. And I can see signs of heavy-duty working that is taking place in the women's wing of the APC.
Well, to be fair, we still do that with men as well. In fact, more with men when you're having conversations, especially on the political space. So, I don't know, maybe you might want to also give statements about men and how perhaps they're a problem of each other. But that's aside. Let's talk about the main issues now. The women, yes, major demography, but also the youth. First, would your party be having a youth campaign team as well, just as you have a women campaign team? And more importantly is the fact that you now need to sell a much older candidate to a population that has, proliferation of young people, for 50%. How do you intend to do that?
We do recognize that at the Presidential Campaign Council, that the demographics favor the youth, and we're doing everything to get them involved in the process right from start, so that they can get involved in determining what to do. They are members of the campaign planning committee. In my directorate, in the media directorate of the campaign council, there's a young gentleman who is SA to the president. He's 31, Bashir. He's 31, and Kayode, I'm 65. but I sit at the same table with him, and we discuss, and I listen to his ideas, and we incorporate them as much as possible. And there's a young, not so young governor who is in charge of youth mobilization, Governor Yahaya Bello. And I do think that he has started work, he's doing a lot of work, and I assure you, the way the dynamo that is called Yahaya Bello will succeed in mobilizing the youth for this country. Besides, there are so many pockets of youth organizations that have all registered. You can see the number of youth gentlemen and ladies from Nollywood that have come into the campaign. And that is a mobilizing effect. You can see so many areas where we're interfacing with the youth to get them involved in this campaign. Because, as I said, it's not about, said on another platform, even with the age of President Obasanjo, right, he made me a Director General of NBC at the age of 41. So this present candidate of APC is likely to even do so many more appointments for the youth.
Well, Dr. Bako, for a lot of young people, right, pardon me, for a lot of young people, they look to candidates, at least they would say they look to candidates that energizes them, someone that they look to and they want to be like. And for your candidate, that has been a question that has really dogged him, his health issues, whether or not he's able to carry this through and all of that. So do you think that your candidate can energize Nigerian youths well enough, the way they want to see a leader energize them and motivate them?
Kayode, I have no doubts in my mind that when the campaign starts, you're going to see a very energetic, agile young man. I don't know if you came across the cycling video from London. I don't know what you've seen, but I can assure you that he will energize them. If anything, amongst the candidates, Asiwaju is the person that can connect with the youth. He opens up, he's a very accessible person. He connects with people, he plays with them, he relates with them. His words resonate with them. He can have a good discussion. There are people around him, so many youth that I know. I don't want to call their names on air, but there are so many of them around him, and so many he has done so many things for. And they will pass the message. And I do know he has the energy to energize them. And well, it will happen. Just wait for us to launch our campaign.
Right, that cycling video you talked about, I mean, some have even asked to see a longer video. Can your candidate cycle a minute? They were saying, let's actually see more than just less than 10 seconds or so that was put out.
Kayode, you will see more. You will see so many more things. Just relax. We are just about to go. We're about to hit the road. So just relax and give us a little space. We're putting all the engines. We're putting all everything. We're starting the turbocharged engines. The moment we hit the road, you will see energy. You will see grit. You will see effervescence. You will see all of it, and you will see dynamism. You will see youthfulness. And you'll see a lot of all what we're talking about in terms of organized campaigns.
Right. So your candidate, or at least your party, has signed the peace accord. But over time, I mean, a lot of Nigerians have expressed concern and worry about the statements and the utterances of the political actors. I mean, the supporters, yes, what they do on social media and all of that, there's a cause for concern. But then from the political actors themselves, and I mean, a case in point, earlier today at that inauguration of the women campaign team, your candidate describing the parties as termite parties, perhaps the rhetorics, and a lot of people will cast their minds back to the statement he made about, you know, other parties, the Labour Party, saying they will labor to death and all of that. And I wonder, can you promise at least that during this whole campaigning process, we'll stay with the issues and not, you know, maybe pander to those rhetorics?
I want to assure you that the National Broadcasting Commission is on top of its game. They would ensure that any stations that allows anybody on a live broadcast to make such statements that are vilifying, not edifying, they will call them to order. But I think there's a greater consciousness since the National Peace Committee led by General Abdul Salam took over the whole business of setting dialogue standards and parameters for dialogue during campaigns. I think there's a more consciousness that we will only continue to appeal to everybody, us inclusive, to be very discreet about what we say and how we say them. I didn't think that the rhetoric so far has been too vile. I think that we will learn. It takes time to adjust, but as we move on, we would ensure that we try to remind ourselves to be decent and civil in our comments on all occasions, whether on radio or on TV or at live broadcast of rallies. And we owe ourselves a responsibility to be democratically open and inclusive so that we can tolerate other people's views. I want to assure you that at the APC, we're going to work hard at that, and we will do everything we can to ensure that our campaign is clean and our campaign is civil.
So Nigerians can, of course, judge your party based on that. So if they see that, I mean, the violent rhetorics and all of that, they can use that to score which party would actually do well in government. As we wind down, Dr. Bako, let's leave on this note. I mean, the questions about when your party will begin its campaign, people challenging your candidates to debate, saying, let's see him actually speak in public for an hour, let's subject him to conversations and all of that. Would your party, or at least let me say, or let me ask that, when is your candidate going to be ready for all of that, such that we can invite your candidate, speak to him on his policies, his plans for Nigeria, so Nigerians can hear from him answering those questions?
Let me remind you that September 28th, that was set for the beginning of political campaigns, was just set by INEC. You can start whenever you want to after that. You take your time, you have 5 months. The most important part is finishing well, and at the finishing line, who comes first? So I want to assure you that what would seem like a slow start from the APC is knitting the house together. When you have a party that boasts of 41 million registered members, you're going to try as much as possible to integrate every shade of opinion, whether they are governors, whether they are members of working council, working committee, whether they are members of local government employees, whatever. Right. So it's a stitching process, and that process is ongoing. And I want to assure you very soon, I think from all indications, in a few days' time, maybe a few more, maybe just about more than a week or thereabouts, I believe that we'll be ready to announce a date.
Well, time is of the essence. We need to analyze the manifesto, help Nigerians understand, what you have in store. But I would like to thank you so much in the meantime. We've been speaking with Dr. Danladi Bako, who is a Director of Strategic Communications, APC Presidential Campaign Council, and also a former Director General of the NBC. Thank you so much. It's good to see you again, Dr. Bako.
Thank you, Kayode. The candidate will look for space to show Nigerians he can talk, and he will talk. And I assure you, when he talks, you will listen.
Thank you. So that's been the story with the APC, but we'll take a moment, and when we return, the party vying to return to power after 8 years is our focus, with today's campaign flag off and the intrigues. Please stay with us. Well, welcome back. Let's head over to the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP. Now, you may have seen that huge crowd at the campaign flag off in Akwa Ibom earlier today, but how well is the PDP put together? Is the PDP off to a dream start? What's the implication of this moving train, which looks like it's not firing on all its cylinders? And of course, we dive into the manifesto of the presidential candidate of the PDP. Tonight, to do that with us, we're joined by Senator Emmanuel Okajev, who represents Benue North in the National Assembly. It's good to have you on the program, joining us live from our Abuja studio.
Thanks for having me, Kayode.
Well, you're in Abuja, Senator Okajev, and we saw that showing in Akwa Ibom. Being a ranking member of your party, a senator, a prominent member, one would be naturally tempted to ask, why were you not at the flag off?
Oh, okay, thank you. I am a member of the ECOWAS Parliament, and we held a parliamentary session in Lome, Togo. So I just came back. I couldn't get there on time. But I'm there in spirit. I'm observing everything. I'm following everything that is going on.
Well, that was well said. I wonder, when did you return from the event? Because I know how politicians are. Barely sleep, run your meetings into late night. So for something as important as that, I imagine that you'll have surely tried to make some inconveniences to get there.
Well, it's not everybody that is a full-blown PDP member that is, you know, in Uyo. So let's not make an issue of my not being there. I'm telling you, I'm 100% PDP, and I'm ready to work for the success of the party at all levels.
Just to be clear, I mean, so we put it all out there for people who are wondering as well. But would you say, from what you've seen today, the intrigues within your party, the absent governors, the ones present, would you say your party is up to that dream start for the campaign, the presidential campaign now?
Well, the party has zoomed off, and what and all, I should say, there are problems, and I think I have a lot of optimism as to, you know, settling this issue that we have on ground before the election proper takes place. I'm not too proud of what is happening, but I don't think that will hold back what the party is going to do, the victory that the party is yearning for and working for. And so you, in your intro, you spoke about the huge crowd that was there. I mean, it's an indication that in spite of all the problems, the PDP is ready to zoom off. And even as some members of the party, they are group members of the party, you know, opted out of the campaign, you can see that their names are still there, meaning that when this matter is resolved, they will join the campaign train and be part of it. But in all good conscience, I'm not too happy that we have these problems on the ground. But I don't think ultimately they will hold the party back from getting the victory that it deserves.
I mean, it looks like we were using the presence of, you know, large crowd now as a yardstick for show of support or, you know, level of acceptance of political parties, even though we've seen large crowd clamoring behind even people of questionable character. But I mean, it looks like that's where we're at in the political scene. But speaking of those issues, and it's good that you said you're not even happy with it because it's like a moving train that is not firing on all of its cylinders. Imagine if those 5 governors were present at that campaign flag of today. I mean, it will probably be way bigger than this. And your governor, Samuel Ortom, I mean, had said he stands with Governor Wike in his demand. He's also said Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is his candidate, but he was not at that flag as well. Is that also an indication of the issues, or at least things that make you sad within your party?
Well, talking about large crowd, you were the one that started with the large crowd, not me. I just answered to what you said. My governor, Ortom, I should say, is trapped between the rock and the hard place in this matter. You know, the governors are very powerful, especially in an opposition party. They are very powerful when it comes to running the party because they fund the parties. And it's because of the maneuvers of the governors that the present national ESCO is in place. And indeed, because of that, that even the national chairman is there today. Or the chairmanship was zoned to Benue. So on the one hand, Ortom would not want to disappoint his brother governors who, you know, maneuvered and we arrived at where we are today in terms of putting together this ESCO. The national chairman comes from Benue, so Ortom cannot be seen to come out clearly and work against him. So that's why I said he's trapped between the rock and the hard place. And so it's a matter of maneuvering. I sympathize with his position, but it's something that has to be negotiated. That's why there shouldn't be any arm twisting about this thing at all. I believe the time is still there for negotiations to arrive at a solution where everybody will be carried along.
You know that saying, you're either with us or against us. And I mean, I like to believe that there's no sitting on the fence in this one. If clearly those governors, including your governor, were not at that event today, they didn't pull their weight, as politicians say, then naturally, if you're not with us, then you're against us would apply, some would say. So I wonder, because when we had you the last time, I think it was in September on this program, I mean, you said, in your words, that Senator Ayu will step down, but it has to be negotiated in such a way that it doesn't push the party into a further crisis. It's October now, we're nearing November. He has not stepped down. Do you think the party is holding on to him as well because of that possible crisis? And I wonder, is your party too stuck between a rock and hard place in this one?
You know, what I said then was that the national chairman is ready to step down. But he cannot just step down like that because the structures of the parties are such that he cannot just step down and the problem will be resolved. Because if he steps down now, the position will go to the national vice chairman, not, okay? So it is something that has to be negotiated behind closed doors. That is, and the position still holds. You know, asking the national chairman to step down as if that will resolve every issue. That was the position that I made, and it still holds. Okay, the impression should not be created that the man doesn't want to go. He wants to stick to that position by all means. But again, it has to be negotiated in such a way that it doesn't leave the party in a deeper crisis. That was my position then, and I still hold the view.
Do you have it on good authority, because you said he should not be painted as though he doesn't want to go? Do you have it on good authority that he's actually open to resigning and leaving as the chairman, the national chairman of the party?
It's in the public domain that it was reported even by the media that Ayu himself gave certain conditions on which he would step down. Okay, along the lines that I'm already talking about. That if he's to step down, what happens to the positions in the South? Are they still going to remain, or it will be shifted, you know? Because those positions were negotiated, and all those that were in the South came to the North previously, and vice versa. And so if he's going to step down now, is he going to step down and the matter, the chairmanship goes to the South, and then that is the end of the matter? What if the secretary, for instance, says, no, I was elected for 4 years, I'm not leaving? What if another person in the South says, I'm not leaving? It will create another whole set of problems. So that is why I said then, and I'm saying today, that this is a matter that has to be negotiated. It is not a matter that should be untwisted. It's not a matter that should be done through force. It's something. It pains me to be talking about this matter over and over again, but that is the position that I think we should take.
Right. But for you, are you actively involved in campaigning for your presidential candidate?
Incidentally, let's say, I'm here to come across any of those aggrieved governors that will say that, no, I'm not campaigning or the Atiku is not my presidential candidate. They are all saying it. Just today I was reading that Ekpeazu of Abia State was saying Atiku is still his dissing. So they have not said, I'm going to campaign from House of Assembly to the presidential candidate. I mean,
there are two different issues here. Pardon me, Senator Okajev. There is, yes, the statement that he's my candidate, but there is the pulling out of the campaign process, which Governor Wike and his allies said, we are pulling out of this campaign process, saying that they will not actively campaign for the presidential candidate. And that's why I'm asking you, are you actively campaigning, unlike the other, the governors and their allies who say they are pulling out? Are you actively campaigning for the presidential candidate?
Currently, I'm not a member of the campaign council at that level. At where I'm going to operate, I will campaign fully for all the candidates of the party. Since I'm not a member of the presidential campaign council, I won't do it at the level of moving from state to state, but where I have where I'm going to operate, I'm going to campaign for all the candidates of the party.
I wonder, has this put you in a difficult position? I mean, just let us know from a personal point of view, because, I mean, your governor has taken a position with his allies saying he stands with Governor Wike. I mean, you're a senator, you have the party demands trying to support your candidate, and then you have your governor's demands as well. Does it put you in a difficult position, and perhaps other people like you?
No, you see, even the governor is making efforts to ensure that this matter is resolved. So I believe before the elections, the matter will be resolved. So I don't think I have any issues at all. I'm embarrassed that we are not moving as one as yet, but I believe that in the fullness of time, that matter will be resolved. So because I can't see myself campaigning for another party in my domain where I'm going to be campaigning. I can't see myself doing that.
But if you're invited to join that campaign council, would you be open to that?
If I'm invited by my party to attend a level, why not? I will, I assure you.
Well, the BOT chairman, Senator Wabara, had been moving around trying to resolve the issues? We've not heard from, the outcome of that meeting he had with Governor Wike, and it looked like Governor Wike dug his heels and said, this is what we want, and he said, well, we're going to consider it. Do you think that for the BOT, they have, as part of the options, the resignation, or at least the removal of a chairman, whichever?
Kayode, I've said this and I'll say it again, that this matter is not beyond redemption. And part of the efforts are being made, at different levels. BOT, other elders of the party, some founding fathers of the party, and all of that. I don't know which will succeed, from which direction the solution will come, but I believe that the matter will be resolved. That's why I said I'm incurably optimistic about the resolution of this crisis.
Well, it's 137 days thereabouts of campaigning. Well, 136 days if you remove the day before till the 2023 elections. And I'm glad you already said that you'd be a part of the campaign council if you were invited. So help Nigerians understand what you'll be selling to them. We've listened to a pitch from your presidential candidate and his running mate and other leaders. And part of the things said is that they're going to rescue Nigeria from hunger and poverty. And this is something we hear time and again. The poverty figures in Nigeria is staggering and all of that. So how do you propose to do that? And first, let me just ask you, what would you say is responsible for the hunger and poverty in Nigeria today?
Prior to the 2015 elections, when APC was campaigning to take over, they said the PDP had misgoverned and that they were going to right the wrongs. Insecurity was on the cards, economy was on the cards, corruption was on the cards. Those were the major planks on which they campaigned. Now, 8 years down the line, some of the excuses we hear are that, PDP took 16 years and so it's only 8 years. You knew you were not going to go beyond 8 years.
No, Senator Okajev, the question is if your party has been able to identify why there is poverty in the land, there's hunger in the land. Have you been able to identify it such that you can solve it? We're winding down in 30 seconds, by the way.
Of course, the management of the resources of this country are not well done, okay? The president, this administration said that oil subsidy is a scam. 8 years, nearly 8 years down the line, it is still a scam, as they said. They spoke about, refineries, one refinery per year, the first 4 years. Nothing has happened. And the PDP has learned its lesson from some of the setbacks that we encountered in the 16 years. But even then, if you compare, there's no basis for comparison. Going by the indices that we now have, there's no basis.
Well, Senator Emmanuel Okajev, representing Benue North in the National Assembly, I would like to thank you so much for your time. Wish we had some more, but I think it's instructive at this point. Thank you so much, and we wish your party the very best.
It's a pleasure being here.
So that's it for tonight, a deep look at what's going on within those parties, just to help you know which to queue up behind, as they say. But we're back tomorrow with the latest political stories and analysis on your flagship political show, Politics Today. I'm Kayode Okikele. Good night.